JV here along with Justin Harris. How you doing, Justin?
Hey, man. I'm good. How are you? Sorry, I'm not in the studio.
Oh, well, we're missing you, but at the same time, thank goodness we have here on Harris County Criminal Lawyers Association presents Reasonable Doubt, Judge of the 230th, lawyer mind extraordinaire, Judge Chris Morton. How you doing? 230th District Court. How you doing, Judge?
I'm good, JV. It's good to see you and Justin.
Well, today
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, it's always a pleasure. It's always great to have you. We wish you have you in the studio, but we know circumstances prevent that.
Yeah, my son tested positive for COVID, so we're quarantined at least until Monday evening. So Tuesday, hopefully, I'll be back in court, unless something else happens.
Talk to us about that. Were you doing a full 2-week quarantine, or is it like a mini quarantine?
We're doing the quarantine 10 days from the onset of symptoms. My son started with symptoms on Saturday. That puts us, or maybe it was Friday, but it puts us to Monday. Myself, my wife, and my other son, we were all tested today. We'll see what results are tomorrow. But the symptoms have subsided for my older son, so hopefully things will be good. Luckily, my son's symptoms were very minor. It seemed like he had the flu, and that was about it. He did complain about not being able to taste his fruit, his ice cream, and things of that nature. He didn't like that.
Well, first things first. Number one. Best of wishes and good vibes and good feelings and everything to your family, and we hope that number one, everything goes well and is easy and as easy as it can be. But two, that must be tough, man, because we're hearing stories on the news, that kids are getting it now, children not getting it now, but are a big kind of factor, vulnerable population that I guess, we knew it was possible or didn't really, I don't know, just it seems like they weren't, in the forefront on the first couple waves, but I guess with this new Delta variant, it's kicking butt on that end, and it's scary, man. It's real scary. I get real nervous about mine. I have 4 children, and I'd get super scared, man. So
it is scary, and if you watch the news, what's very scary is if you have some other type of emergency, there aren't the ICU beds for children.
Right.
Children are having to be life flighted elsewhere, out of the Houston area, which is horrible considering the size of the medical center that we have here. So yeah, it's very scary. It's something that we should all take very seriously. It's why my family is quarantining, and my sons are missing the first few days of school because we have a duty to our community to take every precaution to protect them, to protect ourselves, and in particular to protect those who cannot get vaccinated. There are many people out there who are in situations where they're unable to vaccinate, and we must take steps. Each one of us is an individual to protect everyone within our community. So that's what we're doing.
I'd like to follow up with that a little bit. Sorry to interrupt you there at the end, but you're talking about kind of personal responsibilities that we all should have and we all should take care of if we're exposed or have COVID-19. But you also are in a different position as an elected official, a judicial officer, a judge. What kind of steps? Kind of 2 questions. What kind of steps do you and have you taken in court? And has your personal experience with your son and your family, has it changed any of those things?
Well, my personal experience here with my son hasn't changed anything. We have kept the Zoom operations going. I know that some courts had moved away from that once we started opening back up. I kept them in place. I've encouraged attorneys to come in by Zoom unless there is a particularized reason for a defendant to be in the courtroom. We encourage them to report via Zoom. We waive appearances. We've been doing those things since the pandemic began, and in the 230th, we haven't moved away from those. Obviously, as other courts are opening up, attorneys are inside the courthouse. It's more convenient for them to come in person. We allow that. We are exercising the constraints on the number of people that can be in the courtroom. But in the same vein, we don't want people crowding the hallway just to keep the courtroom clear. For that reason, we've kept Zoom operations open the entire time, and we'll continue to do that. I recently told the prosecutors who are operating in the courtroom, they have recently come back to court after being out of the court for about a year. They were all operating by Zoom and recently came back. The chief prosecutor, Jim O'Donnell, that's assigned to the 230th, I told him that I am more than willing to allow the prosecutors to continue appearing by Zoom if they want to rotate the number of people there, just so we can minimize the number of people that are in the courtroom. The more people we have, the more possibility of exposures we have. And with the Delta variant being so virulent, we want to keep as many people separated as possible. Haven't heard back from the DA's office if that's something that they're willing to do. For now, all the prosecutors are inside the courtroom, but we are trying to maintain the minimum number of people inside the courtroom as we can.
Two things. Who determines the amount of people that can be in the courtroom? This is a question by Kate Farrell. Kate, how you doing? She's watching. Ingrid Chandler's watching, making comments. Shannon Davis is here. Hello, everybody. Kate.
I thought Kate was gonna bring some glitter and come on the show.
Well, Kate brings her glitter with her presence. I don't know. I was trying to be nice. I don't know. Look, so one of the questions is who determines the amount of people in the courtroom? And then my question to you is, you know, we saw another district court close down at least through Monday. Do you have any plans or intentions of closing your court down, or has it been closed down? And how is your staff dealing with this?
Well, my staff is still having to be there every day. We have no intentions of closing down because of COVID. We have to continue to work. We want to minimize the number of people in the courtrooms. The county has given advice as far as how many people should be in a particular area. We're down to 20 in the gallery area, and a total of 41 possible within the courtroom. By county guidance now, personally, I'd like to keep it below 30 in the courtroom at any time. We are able to do that. I know you guys have been inside the 230th. We are probably the most organized and efficient, well-run court in the courthouse. That has absolutely nothing to do with me. That is all due to my amazing coordinator, Cornelio Ross. She runs a very tight ship. So we can probably keep the number of people down to about 30 in the courtroom. That keeps us well below the county guidelines.
Yeah, Ms. Ross is good at anything. It's cutting the BS. And if that means less lawyers in a courtroom, that's usually how that happens.
Hey, well,
but I have seen your court continue to run and run it very efficiently. We saw when the courthouse first kind of started to open back up, there were these signs in the entrance that JV and I take and on the elevator doors that say threat level red, 25% capacity, and only 4 people in an elevator at a time and things like that. And then it went up to yellow or orange, I don't know, some other color, not red, and 50% capacity. Signs at the door, on the elevators, and 8 people in an elevator. And now it's gone back to red. And so it's 25%. Do y'all get, as judges, do you get notifications from, who is it from? The commissioners, from the health department, from County Judge Lena Hidalgo? You said that I think the word you used was advice. Are y'all given any kind of mandates for this? How does that work?
Well, the county county commissioners and through them the county health department, they control the building. It is a county building, so they can control the number of people who come in, how the elevators work. and they provide guidance for the courtrooms. To be honest, in a courtroom, judges king. We have our fiefdom, if you would. For me, I believe I should follow the guidance of experts. That's why I leave scheduling just to my coordinator. She's an expert in that. I am not. The same thing when it comes to the health of the community. I'm going to leave that to the advice of the experts, and I'm going to follow their advice. So when we go to a code red, I'm going to follow the advice given by county officials, and that ultimately comes down from County Judge Lena Halal.
Now look, I've Googled this, okay? Kidding. I'm kidding.
Google is the ultimate expert.
351, Judge Nata Cornelio here. Hello, Nata, Judge.
Hi.
Hi, Judge.
Sorry to crash your party, Judge Morton. I was in the neighborhood. I was actually supposed to be on the show tonight, but got booted for you. So then they gave me this back. Like you could come in and.
No. We've never booted anybody off the show.
I'm just kidding.
Ever.
That was all me. No, Judge.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
I say that Nata Cornelio coming on and joining the party as a judge has been nothing but a pleasure, and I am more than willing to share my time here with her.
I'm all game though. It's 8 p.m. I'm ready to hang out and laugh and cut some jokes, and you guys are talking about serious court policies and the safety of the people and the public, and I have so much respect for y'all and your ability to keep it together at all hours of the day.
Well, let's talk.
We just do it for these 58 minutes. That's all.
I am wearing a mask though, unlike any of you unsafe people.
I'm here alone, so I'm even safer.
I Googled that too, and I'm kidding. So, Judge, how?
Judge Cornelio, what about you?
Yeah.
Do you get the same kind of information that Judge Morton's getting? Is there like some big judge list where, Lena Hidalgo is like, hey, we're going back to 25%. Y'all need to cut down the number of people in the courtroom. How does this, like, nuts and bolts, how does this work? I'm real curious.
Yeah, I think at some point, not the first to know, but we do get an email in there that says something like that. And then we're informed, and then we do our best to Google the news and make sure, like, wait, did I miss a CDC change? Or we've been watching the news, but no, we get emails from the county. I think we have a relationship with the health department. It's just as individual judges, not necessarily just that we have our own fiefdom, but we just have so much going on. I mean, I'm sure y'all have been to our courts, and it's a party in there. There's so much going on, and that we're doing to just manage our courts. So sometimes we do fall a little bit behind, maybe on our emails or on being the most informed on everything, including hearing from you guys as far as what makes you guys feel safe when information changes so much. So I do think that we all struggle to be clear, maybe do a Facebook post, maybe do a policy, maybe an email blast to everyone that's appearing in our courts. Hey, things are changing. We're going to change things for now. Maybe not all lawyers read their emails.
Sometimes.
From judges or in general. So, it takes a little bit of time.
Email?
Well, I think I have, I think it like goes to the spam. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Both of you.
JB thinks his inbox is spam. So we've talked about the hallways. I've talked about the elevators, the courtrooms themselves. One thing that I'm curious if it gets any specific attention, other than if the judge thinks about it, I'm sure both of y'all do. What about the holdovers and the inmates in the holdovers? Who regulates, because the inmates are coming over at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, and they kind of get brought over in different waves. But is there somebody over at the sheriff's office, at the jail, that's like, wait, we've already got 8 of them going over to the 230th, or 8 of them going over to the 351st. And some of the holdovers are a little bit bigger and some are a little bit smaller. Like, is there any regulation on that?
The regulation on that is handled by the sheriff and the division that handles the jail and the transport of prisoners. Again, when I talk about, the realm of the judge, we have jurisdiction just within that courtroom. The actual holdover, that's jurisdiction of the sheriff. We bring them out of there and into our jurisdiction when they come to the court. Into the courtroom. But while they're there, they are actually in the jurisdiction of the sheriff.
Yeah,
Really?
I think that's correct. I actually know this from my previous life, which was more on the policy side of county stuff. And I know that the sheriff does have pretty extensive policies as far as quarantining people when they first arrive, doing regular testing. I actually think that the county has been, providing a decent amount of vaccines to inmates who are willing to take them. But they have a lot of regulations before they come to us, and they do withhold people from being brought out because they're in medical or because they're in quarantine on a regular basis. So I know that there is a policy in place. Of course, we could all benefit from better collaboration and communication as independent agencies and branches of government or departments of government sometimes. But I do think that they're doing the best that they can, and we are as mindful of it as we can be.
Murray Newman on the show, ladies and gentlemen, he said he agrees with Kate Farrell, says, why can't everybody just have a unified plan? What are reasons why that, does that work with everybody? Can everybody just have, hey, everybody gets to go to Zoom or everybody gets to go in person? Is that practical?
When you say everybody, Murray means like the courts, the 22 district courts and the 16 county court judges, right?
I don't know. Murray, why don't you say something?
Doesn't Murray have the link?
I don't know. He's trying to. Well, what are some? Is that even possible? Everybody's docket's extremely different. I know some dockets are big, some dockets are not as big. Everybody's docket's big. Some are larger than others. Courts start at different times. Is there any?
Do y'all talk? Do y'all say, hey, let's all do the same thing. Let's make this consistent for the sheriff's office, for the court staff, for the people who run the elevators, for the defense bar?
We do talk.
I don't know.
No, Chris is right, and it could be better. There are 22 of us, so we don't necessarily all talk every minute. But I started with Ana, Judge Guido, Judge Martinez, Judge Bell. We talk every day, and we actually at the beginning tried to jointly. We tried to publish a joint policy. It got thrown out because we can't do anything joint or something under the rules. So we published the same policy at the same time and acknowledged each other through social media. But even that was harder. Everyone's just trying, we all just have a lot going on.
We have 2 district court judges here on the show. Do you all find, what is the biggest hurdle or issue that you find with this new COVID wave that's coming through, or specifically that? I know some have said, you know what, so what, here we go, we're just going to have to deal with it. Others have, shut down courts. What do you all think is the biggest thing that's on the horizon with y'all?
My biggest problem is I'm stuck at home right now.
Sure.
That's my biggest problem. But again, we are seeing, a spike that's larger than any of the spikes we've seen before. It's going to get worse. I was ready to pick a jury this week. Unfortunately, COVID struck, and the defendant could not be transported. So we're unable to pick a jury. That puts another case that is going to be backlog. Other cases could have been tried, but once that was the one that was going to go, we moved some of those out so that we would have them available for other dates, in trying to allow the other judges to be able to have an equal share in the number of jury pools we have. It's going to create more and more backlogs. That's the biggest problem. We're not going to be able to get some defendants in for pleas because they're not going to be let into the building because maybe they have the fever or they've tested positive. Again, this is going to slow us down. Sometimes a judge is going to have to quarantine. It's not going to be in court. That's going to make things a little less efficient, and that's going to slow things down, back things up. Until we as a community address COVID in a way that is going to get us past this, it's going to keep exacerbating.
Judge, do you still use Zoom in your court? I've never used Zoom. I always go in person. and except for the courts where you have to use Zoom. Do you still use Zoom, or did you take it away and bring it back? I genuinely
You've
don't know.
never used Zoom?
He has used Zoom. I've
Gosh,
seen him on
I
Zoom.
mean,
How
only
have
when I
you-
have to.
How have you never gotten COVID, or like your entire family gotten COVID, JD? That's amazing. You're in the courthouse every day.
Okay, I use Zoom, but I very rarely, except for the courts that I have to use the Zoom, I use the Zoom. Do you still have it, or did you take it away, and are you bringing it back, or have you scaled down your use of it, or no?
We can't see you. Judge Morton's already answered that. You're talking to Judge Cornelio?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe he wasn't paying attention the first time.
We can't hear, or we can't see. We can just see each other. Hey, Judge Morton.
You're looking good, Justin.
So no,
Thanks. You too.
so Judge.
Is it creeping you out for us to be talking and then you guys can't see us?
Well, because we're looking at you.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we don't know who you're talking to.
Well, I just want to add to your question because I do think it's important. I mean, I do feel sick about the possibility of jury trials shutting down and all of the delays, but I think more than just the delays and the inconveniences of everything slowing down is the culture slowing down, where because we are not forcing people to come to court, which I'm inclined to shift back to, people stop working. So because the amount of not work that happened under the very understandably unprecedented COVID the first time was unacceptable. And we just can't go back there on either side or from the courts or anybody else that's involved in the justice system and what we're supposed to represent and stand for. So my biggest concern is how to balance this forward and make sure that we're being as safe as possible and providing access to the court, properly being frontline workers without unduly, putting ourselves at risk, and not going back to where people stop looking at their files, where a 3-year-old case turns into a 5-year-old case, or a 5-year-old case turns into a 7-year-old case, and you have to start over when you're back again. And people act brand new, like, oh, I didn't know I was supposed to do that, and you're like, guys, Yeah. So I think I wish there was a way to come to Jesus together and say, okay, we're going to allow Zoom, or we're going to actually take a break. We're going to say we're not going to do anything for a while, but we all agree that while we're doing that, while we're at home, we're gonna do these things. We're gonna communicate with the people we need to communicate and review our files and make offers and receive offers or make counteroffers or get ready for trial. And as soon as it opens up, we're gonna do it again.
Judge Cornelio, how are you using Zoom in your courts? Because I think I have used the Zoom in your court, but how are you using Zoom in your court, and are you altering how you use it moving forward?
Yeah, so I had just, I think in June, I announced a policy that was going to be effective August 1st, because my thinking was I want to veer off of Zoom for certain types of settings, but I want to give people a chance to prepare. I know folks have gotten used to being home. I know folks have taken care of their kids. I know folks have adjusted their schedules, and everyone's sort of coming back to something that hasn't been full force. So my position was, all right, there are going to be certain types of settings where people are required to appear in person, counsel and defendants, but it won't be effective until August 1st. And then, of course, we're here a couple days into August, or a couple of weeks into August, and now I'm going to probably have to change the policy again. I'm holding out for as long as I can as far as pleas. I think, having a lawyer on Zoom and a defendant in person to plead,
It's tough.
It's not. It doesn't feel like what we're trying to do. So I'm holding out. I'm still doing jury trials. It's not without problems due to people needing to quarantine and stuff. But I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to change. And I am looking actually to get with Chris or Judge Morton and other judges and say, what can we agree to together, and how can we communicate with everybody so that this doesn't mean everything goes back to a grinding halt.
Is there any reason that you had you recently were in trials, that you had it in the civil courthouse? Like, how did that happen?
So there's very limited space, and what I didn't want to do, which is not ideal, because we're at essentially 25 or 50% capacity in the courthouse, there's people in the court. Like, even if I tell people to Zoom in, people show up in person. That was always from the beginning. Which way am I looking?
Here.
Okay. So people always showed up in person, and, you know, as a judge, and I'm relatively new as a judge, having jurors it's an incredible opportunity to serve people. But we're responsible for the jurors, you know, and it's a responsibility that I know we all take very seriously. So I'm like, man, I don't want to say my docket is a hot mess, right? But like all of our dockets, like our hot mess of what is criminal dockets now. Sometimes I have 120 cases on the docket. I try to not do that anymore. But to have jurors and defendants and maybe family members and lawyers is going to undermine the jurors' confidence that we are taking their safety seriously. So I proactively sought out an alternative where the jurors I wouldn't have to compromise and choose between having my court be open. So I ran between docket and my court, and I had a civil judge friend offer to allow me to use their court, and I thought that would allow us to fluidly have the trial without the interruption of docket and the need to accommodate having so many people moving in and out. And it worked out. It was really special, and I'm really grateful to Judge Berg for offering me her courtroom.
I was wondering that because you're the first judge that I've seen do that. Usually we go to 14. Judge Morton, have you thought about, or I mean, are there any opportunities that you've seen about seating juries that you have in other places other than either your courtroom or floor 14?
Well, I cannot use my courtroom. I have construction going on where my jury room is. So I am stuck going somewhere else. We do have the courtrooms on 14 and on 20. That's where I have set juries. I know that JV, you tried one in front of me. I think that was on the 14th floor. You won that one. Very well done.
I did. This is, you can't see me, but I'm doing the fist like, yes, there it is.
We can see you now.
Yes.
We can see you now.
You were in the courtroom that day. It was excellent work, excellent advocacy.
Do you all are front lines too. What are your all's thoughts that we should take into account and take back to our colleagues as far as trying cases on the other side of the hallway or appearing in person? I'm curious.
This isn't necessarily my thought, but it's something that I've heard other people discuss. And my question is why? Why do we need to do this right now? And I think there's been about 113 trials in a year and a half. That's the highest number I've seen. I don't know if that includes family or civil or juvenile, or if it's all just criminal. And I venture to guess that a lot of those have been defendants who are on bond. But 113 is still the highest number in the district court is 90,000 pending cases. Jury trials are not now, never have been, a way to move cases very quickly. And Judge Cornelio, you mentioned earlier that if jurors don't have confidence in the courts and the system's ability to protect them, that means that throughout the entire process, they're worried about that person who just coughed over here, this person who just coughed, which coffee cup was mine, because they all look the same. And is that really, because we're supposed to be seeking justice through this, or at least that's the DA swear they're going to do. Why do we have to be doing this? And I'm not saying that like I think we shouldn't be. I'm just asking the question.
Well, my thought is what we were talking about before with the backlog of dockets, and the fact that what Judge Cornelia just pointed out, that if people don't have to make a decision, they're not going to. They're not even going to work on the case until they have to. Justin, you and JV have both appeared in front of me. You know my policy. You get to your second pretrial conference, I'm going to put you on the jury trial docket. And that's not going to stop. I'm never going to interfere with the prosecution or the defense from working out their case. If that comes to a conclusion that's a plea or dismissal, I'm not going to stand in the way. My policy is you guys can continue to plea bargain and work out your case right up until a jury comes back with a verdict, because that's your job. That's what you're supposed to do. But I also know that when a jury comes in, people have to make hard decisions. The very first jury that we picked for the 230th after we were allowed to start picking juries, that jury was picked in a murder case, and the state dismissed the case before we swore the jury. Both the state and the defendant have to make hard choices when you get there. Until we get there, those hard choices aren't necessarily being made.
So isn't that the problem, right? The problem is that the state didn't evaluate their case better until they were forced to. And I don't know that the answer to that is, well, let's force attorneys to be attorneys by studying cases on the jury trial docket. And now I am giving my opinion. But what y'all are describing is just laziness, right? Attorneys not doing things they're supposed to be doing. Judge Cornelio, when you said people aren't working, my clients are working. I know that. I think what you mean are attorneys are not working, right? Lawyers aren't doing their jobs. And that's where the problem lies. And sure, as a judge, you're a referee. You can't get in there and say, you win, you lose. You can just make sure that teams play the game and make sure that they're following the rules. But I think that if we're talking philosophically here or practically, what needs to happen is that murder trial should have gotten kicked a long time ago. And then people could focus on and put their energy into the cases that don't need to be dismissed. And I think what we're describing is, a system that's not really set up to deal with a pandemic like this, that's killed hundreds of thousands of people in this country and millions of people around the world. I just think that everybody just did their job better. And if Kim Aga stopped going on TV and complaining about a problem that she creates herself, because I don't know, raise your hand if you filed any of the cases that are in any of the courts right now. No one's raising their hand. The district attorney is the single common denominator in every case, whether it's a backlog case or a brand new case, or I don't even know what constitutes a backlog. Where do you draw the line? But the district attorney at Paris County filed every single one of those charges. And then she gets to run on TV and talk about how there's so many cases that are backed up. Well, then stop filing cases that later on you have to dismiss because you can't prove it. So I'm on a soapbox, and I'm going to get a lot of angry text messages from people later on. But I just think that when we do have jurors who have to come down and worry about their health and safety, family members have to come down and worry about their health and safety, JV's family has to worry about their health and safety. I worry about my daughter and what I could bring home with a breakthrough case, and she's 2.5 and can't get her vaccine. How well are we doing our jobs? How well are we fulfilling our duties that we're sworn to do when we're worried about this overarching thing of our basic health? And I have to just ask, why? Why do we have to have these? And I guess the answer is because attorneys aren't doing their jobs, and that's a shame.
Well, Justin, myself, Judge Cornelio, no judge can tell Kim Ogg how to use her resources. That is her decision, her decision alone. Exactly. If she's going to do it in a way that she's going to have to dismiss more cases, off of a trial docket, that's her decision. We don't get to say that. All we can do is apply the law to the facts. We can use the procedural rules to try to move cases along. That's why I put them on the jury docket. I need to have an end date. Now, I have been and you both know this, I've been very liberal when it comes to people's concerns, the health problems. When those are raised as a reason not to go to NRG and they are legitimate health concerns, I grant continuances. But if it's just because, I don't like the art of picking a jury in that situation, well, I can't really grant that. We still have to move along. And, granted, those kind of objections I want to have on the record. I always allow everyone. I know JV put them on the record.
I'm waiting. I'm about to comment, Judge. I'm about to comment.
He put them all on the record. He put everything there. And I said, no, JV, absolutely not. You're going to trial. Yeah. And the thing is, that's something that you guys can appeal down the line. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Judge Cornelio is wrong. And that's why the justice system is set up the way it is. But I can't change the culture. Judge Cornelio can't change the culture to say, don't be a lazy attorney. Come on, use your resources the way, use your resources the way that's best for a judge. I can't do that. Just like she can't say, Judge Morton, you should do things the way I want you to do them, because that's not her job.
I get that. We have a few questions. We have 3 questions coming on the live wire. Let's throw them out there. Murray asks to the judges, so how long were prosecutors not being sent to court? So they weren't being sent to court for about a year or so. But have you noticed any changes with them being in court versus them not being in court? Troy McKinney asks regarding jury trials, have you noticed a difference? Has anyone explored whether the current situation has materially affected the racial and ethnic makeup of large veneers relative to before the pandemic? And I can speak to this because it was a real huge concern of mine. And seating, this will be the 9th jury we've sat. I have comments on that. And then finally is Kate Farrell asks, what are your thoughts on cases being delayed because evidence is not being provided by police agencies? Which I think we've covered, and I don't know, is the body cameras are still a big issue, and I don't know if there are any other agencies or issues that you have found that are delaying the process. So first thing, have you all seen a difference between prosecutors being in court and not in court? What says y'all?
I'll let Judge Cornelio field this one first.
Oh, not fair. Can I add to the? I want to answer all of y'all's questions because I think that they're great questions and I respect what you have to say. I just want to add to the last conversation and to Justin's question. I know that this is a sliver of instances, but I do also genuinely believe that there are some cases that, the defendant wants a trial and is entitled to a trial. And we have to figure out how to go forward if we can under those circumstances. There were lots of detained folks with holds, had served more time than what they were looking at if they were convicted. So, at some point, it's also, a weighing act, and the defendant does have some really important choice there. So I just want to add to that conversation. On the tough question, do I notice a difference? Absolutely. And this is from the perspective of somebody that came in, relatively young to the state system and as a judge in the middle of all of this, right? I started in January of this year. When they came back, it was amazing. I mean, sometimes it was annoying because I would sit there and watch them talk to each other. And I was like, why didn't you guys do this before I came here? The quickness with which a direct conversation in court, I mean, it seems to be good. I don't know why. I'm from largely federal background. We resolve a lot of stuff outside of court settings. And I think we're as judges, trying to figure out how we can help parties get there. I know that the state is overwhelmed. They have so many cases. They regularly say on the record that they prepare the day before docket for all of their cases. So maybe that's why trials help too, right? It's a shift of a mindset, but it seems to make a big difference. Does it have to? I don't know, but it does. As far as what people know and how they can communicate easily, it does seem to make a substantial difference. And I'm gonna miss the day that we go away from it for purposes of stuff getting resolved.
Well, I think it does also. You get to go in person, feel the room, talk to them, look them in the eye and say, look, this case is trash. Or look, you got this point, let's make a deal now so we don't have to go any further. How about you, Judge Morton? Do you think that there's been a difference between the DAs being in court and not in court?
Yes, but I think the biggest difference is that, and I have to praise Kim Ogg for this one. She's had a lot of other division chiefs and things like that looking and evaluating cases. Over the past few days, I've signed 40 dismissals on cases that weren't even on docket. And this is coming from many different people within the DA's office that are reviewing cases. So, I take her at her word that she was going to add some resources to evaluating cases. She has done that, and that's resulted in a lot of dismissals. the way that my court works, the DAs that were on Zoom, if once we were able to start picking juries again, even while they were on Zoom, as soon as I set them on the jury docket, things began to move. Cases began to get dismissed, or offers got really, really good. And that helped move cases, whether they were in the courthouse or not. I know that you guys probably disagree with me. I think that having that adherence to a docket control that gives an end date that allows for those decisions to be made, I think that is the thing that does move cases.
I agree. I think I don't think, and so talking about what Justin was saying, until there's a jury trial or until we have that date, for me, it's all, nothing happens. I mean, sure, we make these deals and you can kind of see if it's a train wreck of a case that you're gonna lose this one or you're gonna win this one. The vast majority of it is until everybody gets their ducks in a row. I really don't think that, I think it's fair game. I think you can win, I think you can lose. I don't care how well on paper your case looks. If your witnesses are 5 crackheads, like, go ahead, put them on the stand. I don't care how strong you think your case is. Now, granted, we don't know if those 5 crackheads or they're going to be 5 sober crackheads, right? Like recovering crackheads or sober people. Like, we don't know those things until a week before, and we don't know those things until judge says, hey, it's trial time and you better be ready. And so I don't necessarily, when the question is why we have to have jury trials, it's, in my opinion, because these people, like I had a guy sit in Judge Morton's court, that guy was sitting there for 4 years, like 4 years to get a 30-minute not guilty. Like, hey, I think those cases need to be tried. Murray Newman.
I agree with that. And let me just say, I agree with that. I had 12 cases set for trial next week. 7 of them have gotten dismissed because they were set for trial on Monday. Now, they got dismissed for the exact reason that on all 7 cases I wrote in my file 12 months ago. And I told 3 different chief prosecutors, you need to dismiss these cases for these reasons. And they got dismissed for those reasons. And it took them looking down the barrel of the trial. But I think this goes back to, and JP, your example of your client who sat there for 4 years for a 30-minute not guilty, and Judge Cornelio, you're exactly right. There are cases that need to be tried. But I'm seeing a lot of cases get tried where no one's freedom is hanging on the outcome of a trial. They're on bond. They're not going to get a jail sentence or a prison sentence, and those cases are eating up the trial resources. But I think that it comes back to lawyers weren't doing what lawyers are supposed to be doing. And as judges and referees, y'all are doing all you can right now. I just wanted to kind of ask that question earlier and kind of push a little bit of a minor agenda that I have.
So,
thanks for indulging.
So Judge Guido and Murray Newman are both telling Judge Josh Hill, hey, you got to calm it down, Judge. Okay, no. Look, Judge Josh Hill says the 232nd District Court's policy. He writes, Zoom is still an option in the 232nd, but it may be unnecessary since he'll permit anyone's appearance to be waived at any time if requested, absent rare special circumstances where physical presence is necessary. Also, lawyers can reset cases by calling or emailing or Zooming the coordinator, so they don't need to physically appear either. This has been his policy since day one before COVID, except for Zoom, obviously, and it will continue to be his policy in the future. He'll keep Zoom as an option for as long as the CCA, OCA permits. Please keep yourself and those close to you and safe.
I just thank Judge Guido for telling Josh to calm down and trying to make me and Chris look bad.
See, they're saying, Judge Guido's saying, hey, cut it out. Like, this is great.
Judge Guido needs to come on.
I know where you're
at,
Colleen.
I think that
we need to have a show with Judge Guido. A lot of the judges need to come on. We appreciate y'all coming on. I want to shift gears a little bit, if it's okay. Not to take away from the other questions that were asked, but we've talked a little bit about DA, people doing their jobs. At least I've talked about that part. Judge Morton, you took some heat a little bit recently for some bond deals. And I'm seeing this kind of stuff in a lot of courts where the media is going after judges for, what they perceive as the judge doing something on a bond. The judge isn't a party to a case, right? So, I mean, what can you talk about there? Or otherwise, I've got some other things I can say to you for response. Whatever you'd like.
Well, I can talk about the law. The law says that anyone who's accused of an offense, absent a capital murder, is bailable. That means they get bail. The Constitution does lay out certain instances where they can be held at no bond, but in each and every one of those instances, there's a requirement on the state that they prove things to a certain level of proof. That requires a hearing. Evidentiary rules apply. I think the biggest thing that many judges are seeing is that we'll have someone that's committed an offense. They're accused of committing another offense, and the media, the public, and our district attorney seems to think that we should just sua sponte hold them at no bond. The law does not allow that. Now, there are ways that Kim Ma could seek that they be held at no bond, but she has to ask for a hearing, and she must bring actual admissible evidence into court. If she does not,
and they're doing that, right? And you're just ignoring the evidence, and you're ignoring the request for the hearing.
Well, thanks, Justin. No, absolutely.
No.
That's not
No, that's been my experience too. The prosecutors file this motion that they file the exact same one in every single case. And if you actually read the motion, it doesn't have anything specific about that case or that defendant. And then they never ask for a hearing on it. And then you see their boss on TV complaining about the fact that the judge didn't do something about a motion that the judge probably didn't even know about.
Now, Justin, let me be fair. I was a prosecutor once. I know that there are times when there's legitimate prosecutorial reasons where you don't want to seek someone to be held at no bond. You don't want to raise their bond. When I was a prosecutor, I had a case. Guy had a lot of burglaries, but I knew that the feds were running a wire on him, and they needed him out. So I wasn't seeking to have him rearrested. I wanted him to be out on bond because there was a bigger investigation going on. And there are other legitimate reasons, because you do have to bring physical evidence. You have to bring witnesses in. Maybe you don't want to burn a witness. Maybe you don't want them to give testimony today that could be used to impeach them later, because you don't know. You haven't had enough time to assess the case. Those are legitimate prosecutorial reasons not to do that. But if those are the reasons that you're not seeking people to have their bonds revoked, you can't really go out on TV and say, this is all the judge's fault. And that's what Kim Og is doing. And it's just not, it's dishonest.
Right. It's unfair. It's unfair to put that kind of political pressure on someone to stay objective and neutral like a judge.
Right. We have to wear blindfolds. We can't put our thumb on the scale for the defense. We can't do it for the prosecution either. I can't play the role of a prosecutor. I can't just say, okay, I'm going to change the rules of evidence and allow inadmissible hearsay to be used as evidence to revoke someone's bond. The law just doesn't work that way.
It's called Rule of Evidence 101. It really is.
Right.
It's the very first rule of evidence.
It's Rule 101. How many are you all seeing as district court judges requests for evidentiary hearings on motions for no bonds? Are you guys seeing that a lot?
Now we are, because I think that lawyers that come to our courts know that we expect it. I mean,
Sure.
and we have to. I noticed in the 351st we had to sort of train the lawyers to say, okay, I don't want an order granting your motion to revoke. I want a proposed order granting a hearing. For me to sign. It comes into my queue, and the only way it can generate with my signature is if you write something that I could sign, and until I have a hearing, I can't sign this. And so it happens every once in a while.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
I know I try to bring in, in any bond hearing, I try to bring in a live witness. I mean, I just try to bring them in.
Real people are great. Yeah,
bring in a real person.
Otherwise, it's just a bunch of lawyers talking, and we lose perspective.
Well, I think last I checked, that's what hearings are for, so you can hear evidence and such. Judge Hill says in almost 3 years as a judge, he's had 3 to 4 to hold indefinitely for violating conditions and only 1 to hold for 60 days. The hearings weren't requested often, but they appear to be picking up in the last 2 months or so.
He just covered one for me. Someone give Josh Hill that Zoom link.
Here, like, I'm gonna give Judge Hill a like, and that's from the 351. Yeah, you're getting likes
Thanks for
here.
helping us do that hearing, Judge Hill.
You know, Judge
While
Hill.
we were in trial.
Judge Hill has an arcade in his back in the back room.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And if you get snacks in that arcade, I will take credit.
Oh, really?
Yes, it used to be dry back there.
Well.
Now there's Ritz crackers.
This is how we're handling agreed motions. We're handling it through fight to the death on Street Fighter.
Don't say that.
I'm kidding. I know. I caught myself halfway through saying that's a bad thing to say. No, we have hearings with live evidentiary motions. Let's see. Judge Hill has a smiley emoji. Great. Let's see. Murray Newman says, I thought Judge Hill was normally watching Bob's Burgers on Thursdays at 8. Way to contribute to the conversation, Murray. That's really good.
You don't have to read them all, JD. That's just like Facebook chat.
Well, I'm anticipating that they're going to be like, oh, great comment. And so I'm reading blindly.
Profound. Yeah. Judge Morton, are you seeing more, the same number, or very few hearing requests for the state's plethora of motions to revoke bonds?
Well, I've been pushing this since the very beginning because I did come under a lot of pressure from the very beginning. I think I was a judge for a month before I had police officers protesting inside my courtroom because I wouldn't revoke without hearings. So I've been pushing that. There's some very good, very smart prosecutors at the DA's office in specialty divisions that have been doing this from the beginning and doing it successfully, showing that there is a danger to alleged victims or that they're violating conditions and actually seeking to have contact or violating exclusion zones with the GPS in cases where there was a serious danger to the victims. And in those cases, the Texas Constitution allows them to ask that those people be held at no bond. And in the right cases, I do grant those. But I have seen quite a few of them because there are a few very smart prosecutors who caught on early to what was going on in my court. When the chief prosecutor who came in, the second chief prosecutor, Jim O'Donnell, he sees the specialty divisions doing that. He has instructed his folks to do it as well. So I have actually had quite a few of those hearings over since the very beginning of my term. Probably quite a few more than Judge Hill has. But as far as those to be held under Article 11A, which is those who are habituals or under indictment for another case when they're accused of another one, I've had one of those hearings, and the state did not bring any evidence of guilt on the underlying crime, which is required by the Constitution. So they were unsuccessful there. But again, my problem is apparently when it comes to bonds and what bond hearings require, the district attorney's office needs to do some serious training because at the end of the day, if they have a problem, and I know that the community does with people who are on bond and then they're accused of another case, the state needs to do something about it. This is not a fix that judges can do unless they take off their judge hat and put on a prosecutor's hat. This is something that the district attorney's office needs to address, and until they do, more people are going to get hurt.
Rob Fickman's joined the show. What's up, Rob? Troy really dovetails on what you said. He says, the reality is that there's no one-size-fits-all to most of these issues. And, I guess that goes back to each judge has to do what has to adapt to whatever situation they're in at that time and that they're dealing with in their docket. We have about 3 minutes left. I don't know what else you want to get into. I mean, we had a big hearing today. Was that today, Judge? Was that today? Or was that the other day? Prosecutors getting fired or leaving the office. That was big news. I don't know. What else you want to talk about? We got like 3 minutes. Anybody? What says you, Judge, in the studio?
I thought we were going to talk about Gus Garcia.
Oh, see, okay, Gus Garcia and Hernandez v. State gave us all the opportunity to to put us as a class apart, to recognize us as an individual class. This is Hernandez v. State. I divert. Justin, thoughts?
Yeah. So, have y'all heard anything about how long NRG is going to continue to be used?
Oh, good question.
Is there any talk of, since COVID's going up, on the other way of things, COVID going up, the jury service may get canceled again? I do like trials. I don't use drugs. I don't drink. My only drug is jury trial. I miss them. I like them, no matter what it sounded like before. But it seems a little bit like all the changes that are going back into place and things that are changing. The criminal justice system is just kind of, it's missing that. Is there going to be any changes? Do there need to be any changes? Do y'all know?
There's no discussion at this point of suspending juries.
What about new judges? Are we getting new judges?
You mean like associate judges?
Sure.
We're getting one. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead, Judge.
Just we're getting one new district court judge for the criminal side. So that'll be the 482nd District Court. We are going to get some associate judges. We're still ironing out what that looks like. And we are also getting what you all might remember as impact court. We're going to have some judges help us trying some cases. It's a little bit up in the air now with COVID, but to help us get through some of the backlog.
I will say, look, we're going, it's at 351, or 230th, and we're gonna, we're going to that judge for punishment. But I swear, it is something miserable when we end up in impact court and we're like, it changes the entire strategy. It really does, because if I know this particular judge is typically leans this way for these particular issues, I might try my whole case on that, based on what her rulings are going to be or his rulings are going to be, and based on the outcome and where I go for punishment and those kind of things. And geez, I won't say any names, but you send us up to impact court and we sit there and we're stuck with, oh goodness, who knows who. Like, that really screws with us. So I'm not too happy about that, but it is what it is. And we got to try it.
And just know, the court is always open. So if there is an objection to something, raise it to the judge. It doesn't mean you're going to get what you want, but you most likely will get heard. And, if you want to go to the court for punishment and want to try the case first, I mean, the conversation is available. To be clear, yeah. I mean, I have people asking to approach on stuff where I'm like, I didn't know that you needed to approach on this, but at the same time, do it. Like, if you have a concern, just say it, because we are responsible for our dockets and sending out cases, and we're doing our best, and we'll always hear from the parties.
A couple last questions. They're blowing up. Do we know who the new judge is going to be and how any of the new associate judges are going to be picked?
We know that the new judge is going to be appointed by Abbott until the next election, right? It'll be appointed by Abbott, but somebody should put their name in as soon as the seat is officially open, because they'll be eligible for the 2022 election cycle.
With that being said, thank you so very much. That's one of the quickest hours we've ever had. Justin Harris, why don't you send us out?
Thanks, judges, for both y'all coming on. We appreciate it. And Judge Guidance, we want to get you on too. Judge Hill, you come too.
Judge Hill's such a comedian on this, though. He's great.
He's funnier by text than in person.
Oh, I didn't say that. Snap. Adios, amigos. Hasta luego.
Bye.